Thanks, guys. That was amazing. Thanks so much. I'd say I was speechless, but I have one more thing to announce. Coming this year.
The Bible.
2!
So in my last video where I power scale a lot of the human characters from the Bible, I promised you guys if you got the video to 700 likes I would make a part 2, and wow, you guys really wanted that part 2. I've seen other people power scale the Bible before, and none of their videos seem to do all that good, so I was really shocked that this video did so well. Now in this video I will be going over the angels, the demons, the Nephilim, the devil, and even God with a capital G himself. Before we begin, I want you guys to know that power scaling is subjective, so you can make your own video scaling these characters however you want. And please keep in mind that there's many different versions of the Bible, so whether you're part of the Catholic fan base, the Protestant fan base, the Mormon fan base, the Jewish fan base, or whatever else, I just want you to know that I'm not trying to offend you if you believe a different version of the Bible is canon. Anyways, let's get on with the video. Let's start off with the Nephilim. Nephilim are half human, half heavenly being. Not much is really known about them aside from them being a lot more powerful than humans, up to the point that God had to wipe them out with a giant flood. Even their human half is pretty strong. Keep in mind, humans lived for a really long time back then. Noah lived to be 950 years old, so just going off of their human half alone, they have resistance to aging hacks. Nephilim are often described as giants, and going off of the most famous Nephilim of all, Goliath, yeah, they're pretty big. Goliath himself was only described as a descendant of the Nephilim, so he has a lot more human blood than angel blood within him, and he was roughly 9 feet 9 inches tall. Keep in mind, people were a lot shorter back then, so he was roughly twice as tall as the average man. But David, with the power of God and anime on his side, managed to kill Goliath with his sling. And then he sliced off his head for good measure. Going off of Goliath's height, he was at least 8 times stronger than a normal human. When power scaling, it's best not to forget about the square cube law. Goliath was not only twice as tall as a normal human, but also twice as wide and thick. Extra thick! If Goliath is this strong, then the other Nephilim must be a lot stronger. But let's move on from these half-human, half-angels to talk about the angels themselves. Now in my last Bible power scaling video, a lot of people complained saying that Jacob did not wrestle with God, but the angel of the Lord. The name Israel does roughly translate to he who wrestles with God, and there is a lot of debate on whether Jacob wrestled with God or just an angel working for God. But if it was just an angel and not God himself, then how strong is the average angel? Well, in 2 Kings 19:35, it states that one angel killed 185,000 Assyrians. And keep in mind, this is by no means the limits to an angel's power, because one angel, or two depending on the version, destroyed an entire city. This was the city known as Sodom and Gomorrah. Angels can also use a blinding technique, much like the solar flare. This happened when they were escorting Lot and his family outside the city of Sodom and Gomorrah before it was destroyed. They destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah using fire, and they also turned Lot's wife into a Hillary Clinton supporter, also known as a pillar of salt. Now some people say it was God who did this, but it's actually never made clear. So that's light manipulation, fire manipulation, and matter manipulation right there. And of course, angels can also fly and turn invisible. In Revelations chapter 14 through 16, it's heavily implied they have nature control as well. Heaven is in another dimension, so they have dimensional travel as well. They can shapeshift, often disguising themselves as humans. They're immortal, not in an elvish sense or a vampiric sense, but in the way that they can never die. However, they definitely can feel pain. This is probably the reason why they revolted against God. Oh, well, you can't kill us, so we just have to keep trying and eventually we'll win. Of course, God created hell to deal with them, but we'll be getting to that a little bit later. The angels, of course, have a few other abilities, and I'll flash them up on the screen, but I don't want to make this video too long. But no matter how high you want to scale the angels, there are two that are certainly above all of them: Michael the archangel and Lucifer Morningstar. Lucifer looked upon a being who created the universe, heaven, and himself, and said, "Yeah, I think I can take him. He can shapeshift into things like a snake." but also a seven-headed dragon. There's a story about him taking on this form and chasing a pregnant woman. Many people believe that she's supposed to represent the Virgin Mary. In this form, Lucifer, and I quote here, knocked a third of the stars out of the sky. Now this could be a representation for the angels who joined Lucifer, or it could mean that he wiped out 1/3 of the universe. So yeah, this would make him easily multi-galaxy level. Now in many versions of the Bible, Lucifer and the devil are one and the same, but in many other versions they are not. But I grew up with a version where they were one and the same. If you disagree with this, then you're more than welcome to make your own power scaling video, where you treat both the devil and Lucifer as separate beings. As for Michael the archangel, after Moses died, it was stated that Michael would one day defeat Lucifer, which means they're roughly just as powerful as one another. Now there might be one human in the Bible who can take on an angel in combat, and that is Esau, because Jacob was willing to wrestle with an angel, but he was terrified of his brother Esau, which is pretty funny when you think about it. I think a lot of people would rather fight an otherworldly being than their older brother. And now finally we're gonna move on to the Son of God himself, Jesus!
You've come. I mean, I knew you would come, but you've come.
I have come.
Now he's mostly known for being a healer. He reattached a guy's ear, cured someone who was born blind. He can even cure mental illness and bring people back from the dead, including himself. He can also duplicate things. One time he used 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000 people. Like the shinobis from Naruto, he can walk on water, and he can teach other people how to walk on water. Like Aquaman, he can control fish. One time he got a whole bunch to jump into his friend's net. While sailing with his friends, they got caught up in a storm, and Jesus made those storm clouds peace out. The only piece of technology that humans have that can make clouds move are nuclear bombs. So just like Storm from X-Men, Jesus can also control the weather. But one of his greatest offensive techniques of all is his ability to turn water into wine. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, that doesn't sound too impressive. That sounds like basic transmutation. But don't forget that the human body is mostly made out of water. If all the water in your body turned to wine, you would immediately die. Or you could just turn some of the water in your body and make you absolutely hammered. If you ever poured alcohol in a cup before, you know that stuff really hurts. Now just imagine a little bit of that stuff going into your bloodstream. Yeah, that would really burn. Jesus is also a pretty tough guy. Many people have died just being hit by a whip 2 times, but Jesus tanked 39 of them. He had a crown of thorns placed on his head, and much like a guy who made a bad joke on Twitter, he was crucified. In most modern versions of the Bible, demons and angels are one and the same, and 2 men were each possessed by 1,000 demons. Using his own power, Jesus cast all 2,000 of them out. What else can you say about this character aside from Jesus Christ? Now some people see Jesus as just a prophet, others see him as a demigod, but many people see him as the true Son of God and a part of the Holy Trinity. So how powerful is God with a capital G, aka Yahweh? Well, in just 6 days, he created the entire universe. Some people say this wore him out and he needed to rest. Others say this took 6,000 years for him to do, because it's stated that 1,000 years is a day to God. And some say it took him billions of years. When he said, "Let there be light," he was referring to the Big Bang. But the Big Bang took a fraction of a second, so this guy is easily universe level. And if we also include his creation of heaven and hell, then that would make Yahweh low multiversal. If you consider heaven to be a higher dimension, then that would make God extra dimensional. But many people in the Christian, Catholic, Jewish, and Mormon fanbase consider God to be completely omnipotent. And since all power in this verse comes from Yahweh, all the feats we mentioned in both part 1 and part 2 are also things he can do. I apologize for this video being so late, but that's because I was waiting for my channel to finally get monetized. Yep, that's right, I'm finally making money off this channel, and it's all thanks to the last video. Unfortunately, I will have to take a break from uploading on this channel to finish the Hopeless Peaches video on my main channel. But once I finish that video, I will be remaking my all versions of Goku versus all versions of Superman videos. And then my Death Battle-like series can finally continue. I know a lot of you have been waiting for far too long to see Azura versus Kratos. I'll be explaining the reasons as to why it took so long, but I gotta get back to work on videos for the other channels. Anyways, I'll see y'all next time.